Welcome back, Saints fans, and welcome back to the Saints and Alumni Show. My guest today is Dr. Robert Porcelli from the class of 1966. He's a proud graduate, and we're going to get right back into it. But thanks so much for joining me today. I sincerely appreciate it.
Well, thanks. Good to be here.
Well,
got me out of bed early.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Yeah, and you're looking good. It looks like you shampooed your hair for this.
I did. I even shaved.
Oh my goodness, beautiful. You look beautiful. We're just about to start the new semester at Siena College, where, classes kick off on September 7th this year. And we've got the largest freshman class ever coming to Siena, close to 1,100 students. But, take me back to your years. Take me back to 1963 and 1966. What was the anticipation like for you coming to Loudonville, New York?
Well, first of all, it was 62 to 66.
Oh, 62 to 66. Excuse me.
Yeah. Well, first, let me say this, Mike. None of this will be mechanical, and some of it will cut close to the bone. So bear with me if some of this gets a bit emotive, okay?
Absolutely.
All right, I first visited campus in 1961 because in those days, before you put in your application, I was accepted to Siena in the late August, early September of my senior year in high school. So everybody else was, sweating it out. I was in, but then we had to come up and take an entrance exam. And so they knew kind of where to place you. And with regard to your, I was in pre-med, so that was where I was going to be, but to fill me into the other tracks of, the religious part, the philosophy part, the other requirements. So I first visited campus in 1961 and I felt comfortable there. I was familiar with the Franciscans because at a very young age, I was born in Texas. We moved back when I was about 2 years old, and my family was in Mount Vernon, New York. And the parish they historically went to was St. Francis, and it was a Franciscan parish. So although some of my colleagues were a little on edge because these guys walking around in sandals and robes and ropes, I felt very, very familiar. I had no hesitation being surrounded by the men in those brown robes and sandals. Actually, it was there were two big reasons for choosing Siena. Okay, first was their pre-med program, and second, they had a lacrosse team. I played in high school, and this was a perfect fit for me in lots of ways. It was anticipation for me was very high, since I wondered how I would be able to integrate both programs. And it turns out there were about 5 of us in the pre-med program that played lacrosse. So that was easy.
It was a nice combination right there. I like that.
Yeah.
So it seemed like Siena was the perfect fit.
Yeah.
Go please.
No, you mentioned the largest incoming freshman class.
Absolutely.
Well, it was odd you mentioned that because the class of 66, when we first got there, it was our freshman class was almost half the enrollment of the school because they just finished Ryan Hall and they opened it up the fall of 62.
Wow.
Okay. So I think there was 450 freshmen, if my memory serves me correctly. We were a tribe. Okay. And, but two things. First and most important, what would I suggest to new incoming students for the class of, was it 2006, 2000? Yeah. 2026.
2026.
Yeah.
Sounds right. Yes. Yes.
Math deficient. Here we are. I would suggest to them 2 things. Okay. First and most important, settle into your study habits right away. High school study habits don't work. You will not find them useful. And quickly as you can, design study habits in your new environment. Okay, you're in a dormitory, you're not at home, no parents. A phrase we used to use back then, kiddingly, but it holds true today, I guess, is daily preparation and weekly review is the key to academic success.
I like that.
And anytime somebody got a grade that they didn't like, first thing out of somebody else's mouth was daily preparation, weekly review is the key to academic success. There's a lot of truth to that, really.
I think that quote did pretty well for you at Siena. Would you agree?
Well enough, yeah.
I like it. Now, did you ever live in Ryan Hall?
Yeah, my first year.
Your first year. Okay, so
Yeah.
you were the
Yeah, yeah. We were up. They had all the science majors on the fourth floor.
Okay.
The third floor were all the arts majors, and the let's see, the second floor, I forget who they were, but on the first floor were all the business majors. So they had it separated. It was incestuous, I guess. You know?
Well, my freshman year was the fall of 2003, and I lived in the bottom floor of Ryan Hall, Ryan East, 1 East, and it was a great experience. And I don't know if the rooms had been touched since 1962, but it was the best living experience anyone could ask for. I'm still best friends with all the guys in the wing that I live with in Ryan Hall. It was a wonderful freshman experience, and I hope the 1,100 freshmen that are coming in this September really get to love it and experience it and get the most out of the Siena experience.
Yeah, the second year I was in Plassman. Third year I was in Ryan Hall. Fourth year I was in the downstairs East Wing. It was nice because if you had a guest, they didn't have to jump out of a fourth floor window when the flyers came down the hall.
Interesting. Did you have some guests come visit, perhaps?
Oh, no. We never did anything like that.
No, you're a good guy.
We were all good.
Okay.
But we were mostly all seniors down there.
Now, for people that are not looking at this on YouTube, did you have your fingers crossed when you said that? Or
no,
no, just making sure. The
second point about the largest class and my advice, be sure to set up time for play, okay? Be it athletics, social activities, or just being alone with your new friends, okay? The balance is critical for success. Mm-hmm. Keep your eyes on the ball, but enjoy being in the stadium.
Oh, I love that. Coming from a decorated Siena lacrosse player, that plays. I like that. I like that very much. It sounds like you had a wonderful Siena experience. Let's talk about your Siena relationships. Who have you stayed close with, and kind of what person at Siena had the most impact on your life, and how did it prepare you for your career?
You said you wanted radio friendly.
I
got nothing to say then. Seriously though, there are two things I'd like to mention. Okay, first, as I slogged through the third age of my life, I realized that it's been both in the classroom and out of the classroom teachings by the friars that have sustained me throughout my journey, my life's journey. Okay. Second, remember that with 1 foot in pre-med and 1 foot in varsity athletics, I've had my most endearing relationships, even though I had those two separate, let's call them venues or orbs in the Siena student experience, okay? Most endearing relationships have been with my former teammates.
Sure.
And that was evidenced at both the 25th and 50th reunions, where the warm and personal feelings were rekindled even after 25 and 50 years. It was like we never left. The other students that I knew, it was kind of like, hey, how's it going? But the real hugs came from the players. From
your teammates. Yeah, I love that. I love that. And it kind of leads me into my next question is, the lacrosse program has kept you very connected to Siena throughout the years. What was it like playing back then compared to now? I know you're up with the program and you come to games and I get the call after every game. It's Mike, can you believe this? Or blah, blah, blah. How about this recruit? I know you're up to date on all this stuff, but I would love to know your playing career to right now. And then we'll talk a little bit about something else afterwards about that.
Okay. Well, yes, lacrosse program has kept me happily connected. Okay. But back then it was more like war.
Okay.
Physical contact was the norm. All right. For example, if there's a loose ball, okay, one player, usually the larger of the two, would say, I've got the man. And then the smaller player would say, I got the ball. And my roommate, we played on the same midfield, Robert Oculato, his nickname was the Ox. So
that's the type of guy you want by your side.
Right. When he said, I got the man, I knew I had plenty of time to walk up to the ball and pick it up, okay? And so you can imagine the outcome. Also, we only had, my senior year, I think we only had 13 players on the team. And generally, if I go back and look at the records, and most we've had 20 players, 18 to 20 players. So we played much of the game. We were lucky to have 2 midfields. So when I got tired, I'd hold up my stick and somebody from attack would play midfield and I'd go and play attack on the crease and just relax for a while until I caught my breath. The midfield, we had the Ox was a face-off specialist, okay? And you played defense, face-off, offense, you were on the field, that was midfield. None of this, okay, there's a midfield just for face-offs, defense, midfield, offense, midfield. So the game has really changed. In fact, when I started looking at the new format on I go, what the hell are they doing? You know, there were all these people running around.
Yeah.
There was none of this specials. Let's call it specials play. Okay. Can I reminisce about my first shot?
Please.
We were playing RPI. It was my first collegiate game. It was pouring rain. We're playing up at RPI, and it was just a mud bath. Okay. I was playing the crease. Tommy Riley came by, tossed me the ball. I'm standing in front of my back towards the goalie, right in the crease, and I shot it over my shoulder, and I was face down instantaneously in the mud, gurgling. I heard my team members cheer, so I figured it went in. It did. But I got up, and I was just, my helmet, my face mask, everything was covered with mud. So when you took a shot, you were down. There was none of this dancing around stuff, you know.
Yeah.
So it was more like war in those days than it is now. It's more of a gentleman's game now.
Who would you say, on a side note, who was one of the best players that you played with during your Siena career?
Okay, we had 2. Okay, attack was Tommy Riley, and over his career, if I looked into this about 2 years ago to see how good was Tommy Riley, and I went back through. I came up to the library, and the librarian was very good.
You did a full digital study on all the stats. I mean, I think you even added the stats and went back and found old newspaper clippings and added them to our archives.
News. Yes, yeah. He scored over 110 points. In those days, that was big time because double figures. The only scores with double figures were the teams that were playing against us because they scored double figures. But generally, the scores were 6-4, 8-7, 8-6, that kind of thing. And so to score that kind of points was really remarkable. The second person was our goalie, Tex Ritter, John Ritter. He had in one game 39 saves. And that was we won that game, but it was only because of him. So when they hear, wow, he's got 9 saves this game, 10 saves, 15 games. Wait a minute. This guy had, at one time in his career, he had the most saves. He was the most acclaimed goalie in the country. 39 saves in one game.
Sounds like you played with 2 pretty great guys.
Yeah. And we still keep in touch.
Right.
Kind of go back.
And I know you've been on the prowl to get these guys into the Siena Athletics Hall of Fame. So, if the committee's listening, I think we'll have to get a couple more nominations for these guys. All right.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Beautiful. And just before we wrap up this first segment, Bob, I wanted to talk about the Porcelli Family Scholarship. I know it means so much to you, and you set it up to help both the men's and women's programs every year. What impact has it had on your life knowing you've helped so many players with their Siena education, but also helped them on the lacrosse field? Because I know you come up for the scholarship dinner every year. You play an active part in their lives. So please, let me hear a little bit about that.
Well, a bit of history first. It was the spring of my freshman year. My dad was swindled out of his business, the family business. He had poured every cent we had into that effort. And as a result, we were literally penniless, okay? Both parents went to work to keep the family afloat, and I got a job cleaning Ryan Hall after the daytime porters left. So I was wet mopping the entire dormitory, throwing out garbage, touching up the bathrooms. But on weekends, the dormitory was mine. So
nice.
Needless to say, anybody that came drinking and puked in the sink got a visit from me.
Okay. A couple hard knocks on that door. Right.
And that got me through. And then on vacations, I sold shoes in Miles shoe stores and so forth. And we made it through. And I didn't have to leave school because I really thought I would have to in my sophomore year. Since then, the family's been very successful. And when my dad, Archie, died several years ago, I was looking for a way to commemorate his life. And I thought that there might be some lacrosse players who might have been in similar situations. Their family may have been in some similar situations, and maybe I could help in some small way. And that's the rest is history, of course. We helped some amazing young people, men and women, over the course of the years, and we remember them all.
Yes.
And we enjoy seeing them at some alumni events. The alumni lacrosse game is usually played by a number of the players we helped. And the Fiorello family, we have helped Annie, and then her sister came up, and we're helping them too. And Joe, the father, was a lacrosse player for Siena. And we meet, even though we're not classmates or whatever, we see each other at the alumni games. And I know Archie looks down and smiles.
He absolutely does. And I know, just looking at you when you're talking about this, it means a lot to you. And I know, you've helped countless numbers of players here, and everybody at Siena thanks you and your family and your dad for what you've done for us. So
can I jump back to the Siena relationships?
Please.
Okay. I can't hold myself to one individual. If you ask me one individual that really made a difference, but let me list them quickly in no important list order. Okay. First was Professor Thomas Whaling in biology. He convinced me that I'd make a better researcher than a physician. And he opened up a lifelong profession that I've thoroughly enjoyed. The second was Father Anthony Moore, who opened my eyes really to the love of God and how to appreciate that love. Then there was Father Cyprian. He was a chemistry teacher who taught me how to persevere to do whatever it takes to succeed, okay? Despite all the disappointments along the way. And I had a big disappointment in his class, that's why. He actually helped marry, he married one of the friars that married us. Nice. Of course, there's Father Peter Fiore, who taught me how to appreciate, this is important. He taught me how to appreciate humanity through humanity's written words. Okay,
love that.
That's what all your arts courses are about, whether it's the graphic arts or the written arts. And last but not least, of course, is Father Senan Sanfratello, who taught me how to balance the spiritual and mortal, all with a sense of humor. He once caught me in a shaving cream fight.
Uh-oh.
Well, it was a floor war, actually. And we had—
It was those damn business kids on floor 1 at Ryan Hall.
Yeah, well, the East Wing looked like a tube of shaving cream. And of course, being the porter, I had the vacuums and all the rest. And we were cleaning up, and Father Senan, who was a prefect on the floor, came in. And he says, I was the only one he really knew. And he says, Porcelli, what's going on here? And I'm on a ladder cleaning the ceiling. And I looked down at him and says, Father, cleanliness is next to godliness. He turned purple and walked out. But that relationship continued because he went to NYU when I went to NYU after graduating. He went down to get his PhD in English. And so we met frequently during those 4 years afterwards.
I love it. I mean, we'll get into Father Peter Fiore in our next segment.
Okay.
But it sounds like you really went above and beyond getting to know the friars and having floor wars. I love that story. That's wonderful to hear. And just before we end this first segment, Bob, when was the last time you donned your Siena lacrosse apparel? There's a rumor going around that you may have suited up for an alumni game the other day.
No. I can't run anymore. I got a fake knee. I got a titanium knee and 4 stents in my heart. You think I'm going to go out there with those big boys? You doubt it. Not with that.
You got to find another ox.
Yeah, right. Well, he comes to the alumni game. Well, no, he doesn't come to the alumni games. I should get him to one. But no. The shorts don't fit. The shirts that I saved don't fit. Although the one you gave me fits. And
looks good.
Quick story.
Yeah.
You got time?
Yep.
So to take that picture of then and now that you have, I went down to the local high school where Liam Gleason played lacrosse in our town here.
The head coach of Siena lacrosse at the men's program. Yes.
Yeah. And so I went in front of one of the goals, and Steph is taking these pictures of me with my stick and my Siena 11 shirt, right, the new one. And the lacrosse team comes down, the high school lacrosse team, and they're all kind of looking at me, and they're kind of circling around like they're stalking,
Mhm.
and then nobody said anything. So I said, well, come on, honey, we got to go. And one kid said, hello, sir. And I went, hi, kid, how you doing? And they all kind of went, fine. Like with this old guy,
Like, what are you doing here? Right?
here. Yeah, it's kind of fun.
Did you teach him a
Anyway.
thing or two?
No. Actually, there was a kid down there that we tossed the ball around who's now playing for Navy, Navy or Army. Javier Airline.
Wow.
He got lacrosse scholarships to North Carolina, but then I just recently saw he's playing football for one of the service schools and lacrosse.
See, your advice paid off.
What advice?
All right, Saints fans, stick with us. We'll be right back with Dr. Robert Porcelli from the class of 1966 here on WVCR in the Saints and Alumni Show. Welcome back to WVCR 88.3 The Saint. I'm your host today, Mike Utzig from the class of 2007, interviewing the great and the godly man, Dr. Robert Porcelli, class of 1966. You've heard his Siena upbringing, and now we're going to get into a little personal business with Dr. Porcelli. And, one thing I've always noticed about you, you've always been an outdoorsman. You love it. You've been on countless fishing and hunting trips. What are some of the best trips you've ever been on, and what type of fish are you currently angling for?
Oh, the trips are easy. Number one, fly fishing for trophy trout, rainbow trout in northern Georgia. King salmon on the fly in the Salmon River in upstate New York.
Okay.
These are all fly fishing now.
Okay.
Bone fishing in the Cayman Islands.
Okay.
And saltwater fishing for striped bass, bluefish, false albacore on a fly out in the ocean. Nothing like an albie hitting your fly that you've tied at 35 miles an hour. He whacks it and takes you on a ride. And last, and the most spectacular, I have to say, is chasing pheasant around the high prairies of South Dakota. I've done that 15 times. And it's really something to be out there, grass as far as the eye can see. You get a feeling for the greatness of the country. Currently, I fly fish for brook trout, rainbow trout, brown trout on the rivers of Long Island. And I surf cast during the summer. We have a beach house on Fire Island. And then, of course, there's Montauk at the end of October, early November for a week, surf casting. So is that enough?
I think you're a pretty decorated fisherman.
Hey,
it sounds like it.
If I could be a guarantee, if I had a chance at a fish in a sewer in Times Square, you'd see me sitting on a curb jigging for that fish. Okay.
I love it. Here's off our scheduled topic. What type of, if you're out at a restaurant, what type of fish are you ordering? Is there any specific, your most delicious catch you would want?
Lamb chops.
Fair enough.
Something I couldn't catch and eat. Okay. So I catch striped bass. So I wouldn't order striped bass. Right. But if they had mahi, I've never caught a mahi. I'd go for that. I try to stay away from farm-raised fish, but you can't tell in a restaurant. But generally, fluke, flounder, we get them anyway,
Sure.
But something that is a little more exotic if it's on the menu. And that goes for meat as well. We have a bison restaurant out in Riverhead here, and the guy raises his own buffalo bison out here. He has a ranch, and there's nothing like a bison porterhouse grilled. Ooh. But if he has elk, I'll get the elk.
All right.
Okay. So that's
I love it. I love it. So, I mean, you're an outdoorsman, you're obviously, you have different facets of your life. And one thing, since you've retired, you've become a poet and a novelist. And I've been inspired by some of your works. And, what are some of your favorite works so far that you've completed?
Well, let's take it easy. There's only one novel. Okay. The Brown Robes was, the Brown Robes started the poetry thing. I got the notion at 1 a.m. in the shower, and dried myself off and went to the computer room, and it just flowed onto the screen. Then I came to realize that I could put to pen a lot of things that emotionally have made an impact on me over the 76 years. Um, there was another essay I did about as a teen losing my dog Coco. We never got another one, so I never got over it. And there's a line in Bojangles where he goes for 20 years with his dog, and the dog died, and he still grieves. When I play that tune, but I can never sing that. And I just said, you know, I've got to write this down, kind of close it out. I mean, heretofore, I've written scientific articles. I've written chapters in books on pulmonary physiology and lung disease. So these screeds were really something that were a radical departure of the writing I had done throughout my career. I had a mentor for my doctorate, my postdoctoral fellowship, and my faculty chairman of pulmonary disease here at Stony Brook, who always said, whatever you write should be a piece of literature. When they read your grant, your paper, whatever you're writing, your proposal, they should say, it's well written, it's clear, I understood it. He's full of you know what, but it's, you know, he said, so, and when you give a presentation, it should not be just to do it to get through it. It should be something that people remember. And so I kind of went from, we'll talk about Father Peter later, but from Peter to a man named Ed Bergovsky, who really kind of carried that ball forward. You know,
and if for our listeners, if you'd like to read Dr. Porcelli's work, and especially the poem, The Brown Robes, he was profiled by the Holy Name Province just a couple months ago, and his work is on their website, and there's a nice profile about him. So hnp.org, and you can go check that out. It's a wonderful, wonderful poem. Hey, there's a little rumor though. There's a new book perhaps on the way. Can we dive into that a little bit? Maybe what was the inspiration about putting everything together?
Well, a new book, the only book.
All right. Well, you know, I just
a novel. It is a novel.
Yes.
There's another one of these things where Steph, it's amazing she's still married to me. I was reading an article in Natural History magazine at 2 a.m. in bed, right? And it was about this water vapor pressure layer that is right at the interface between space and our atmosphere. And the question was, this guy, scientist's name was William Hamilton. And he asked the question as to whether the water vapor pressure layer existed and these bugs somehow got there, or did they create their environment by respiration and all the rest? And I turned to Steph and I said, honey, what happens if one of these bugs comes down into the human population? They've been exposed to radiations of all sorts, gamma rays, cosmic rays, all the rest, X-rays. We'd have no defense for that. And I said, it could wipe out all of humanity. And she goes, that's a novel of a book. She rolled over and went back to sleep. So I wrote it.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
It's called The Last Chapter, A Tale of Pestilence, Past, Present, and Future. And she's about halfway through her final edit. Okay. And then I'll make an attempt to get it published. Yeah, I put too much work in it.
Well, when you do, we'll let our alumni community know that this book is available.
Anybody wants it, I'll send them an e-copy right away.
And Saints fans, today my guest is Dr. Robert Porcelli from the class of 1966. He's an accomplished physician. You know, he's an accomplished author. He's an accomplished lacrosse player, accomplished philanthropist. He's the guy. And I'm really happy to have him on the show today. And
I should die right now. I should die right now.
No, please, no. You've helped guide so many people we talked about in our last segment, but speaking of your father and people at Siena, was there a certain perhaps English professor at Siena that helped guide you in your life?
You baited me. During my student days, yes, Father Peter, who in AKA in those days was called Father Amadeus. He was truly an inspiration. Even though I was in biology, we had to take 2 years of English. And so I took a number of courses with him. And he made literature, and by extension, learning, an act that to be treasured and enjoyed, okay? I would always refer to his classes, whenever I talk, oh, I learned that in Father Peter's class. And on occasion, we lost touch, obviously, when I graduated. On the occasion of his 90th birthday, I sent him a card thanking him for what his classes meant to me throughout all these years. I've always been an avid reader of the classics and all the rest, even though I was in medicine. That started a renewed relationship. He wrote me back.
Yes.
And when at Siena, we visited, and he encouraged my writing. I felt if he could encourage my writing, I could write. Okay.
I love it.
Our relationship, unfortunately, has gone silent since he retired and moved to Florida. And I miss him. I really do. I know he has seen the brown robes, thanks to you.
Yes.
And the piece I wrote for the Holy Name Province, which you referred to. I mean, I really hope he enjoyed them and can reflect on the fact that he sees his influences continued throughout my life.
Well, what we're going to try and do is get this audio and video to Father Peter too, just to let him know that he's missed here at Siena, and he's always thought of, and he's had an inspiration on not only you but on many. I know when people used to come back for reunion weekends, you know, they would always ask, "Where's Father Peter? Where's Father Peter? Where's Father Amadeus?" And for a new guy that was at Siena, I was like, I had to go look for two friars. I didn't know,
Right.
you know? So you know, it was a learning experience, but it certainly was one I treasured. So
I think it was because his photo was in a post office under Father Amadeus. A wanted poster. He came back as Father Peter. Yeah,
he's one of the best. One of the best.
Yeah,
and you know, before we wrap up today, and again, thank you, Dr. Porcelli. I appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to come on and share your Siena story and give some advice to the incoming freshmen. But you know, we have a tagline here at Siena. You know, Siena is the education for a lifetime. You know, and as a proud member of the class of 1966, who's experienced Siena in the 60s all the way up to now, dealing with, you know, the men's and women's lacrosse players and their families, and you get to see firsthand the Siena experience. Do you think that tagline holds true? Is it the education for a lifetime?
Yeah, I think it is. At least for me, I can't speak for my classmates, all my classmates. There was a meeting of all the freshman class in Sarah Hall. Is that still called Sarah Hall, the dining hall?
Yep.
And Father Brian Duffy, who was the president at the time, came in, and along the different things he was telling us, he said, "Remember, you're here. We're here to do two things: to teach you how to make a living, and also how to make." Let me step back. How to earn. We're going to teach you two things: how to earn a living and how to live, and that has kind of been my credo, along with daily preparation and weekly review. But a short story. When I left science and I retired from federal service and Stony Brook's faculty, I was a consultant for a startup company in California. I was a consultant. I was flying back from a client in West Texas, which was not my home. My home is San Antonio, but my natal home was Midland, Texas, Odessa, Midland. And on one occasion, a gentleman sat next to me on the plane. Okay, he reached in his bag and he took out a Bible, and he started reading. So we struck up a conversation. He was flying to Washington, and it turned out he was a Baptist pastor of a church in Washington, D.C., in a very poor section of Washington, D.C. We discussed all kinds of things. Okay, philosophy, religion. Society in general. For me, it was a very memorable flight. Importantly, I never told him what my religious affiliation was. What did I honestly believe in a way of a religious experience, okay, or my religious affiliation. But he got up to leave when we got to D.C., Washington, shook my hand, and he turned to me and he thanked me for the discussion and said, "You're a Franciscan." Now, you want to ask your question again?
I don't think I need to. I think that sums it up pretty special. So, and I think a lot of Siena alumni and people, not even alumni, friends and people that are associated with Siena, they feel the same way. So, and you know, it's whether you deal with a special friar, or you've had a special class here at Siena with a friar, or you've streamed mass, you know, every Sunday. on Facebook with our Siena Friars webpage, or you've been baptized by a friar or married by a friar, or, it's just, there's a calming presence and a loving and truly special relationship they have. And it's, we're all blessed to know the friars of Siena College.
It's a shame that they're not as many as when we went to school. I think when we went to school, the friary had 175 friars. They taught just about every class. The exception was a civvy teaching a class. That only magnified the experience and the stories you can tell throughout your life, But when you tell those stories, it really has an impact, not on your being, it's hard to get away from the brown robes.
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, take that into your weekend and enjoy that, because I think Dr. Porcelli summed it up perfectly. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us here on the WVCR Saints and Alumni Show. It was a special interview with a proud member from the class of 1966, Dr. Robert Porcelli. We thank you, we appreciate you, and we honor all that you've done for us here at Siena College. And it seems like you got a lot out of it as well. And it's definitely a special place. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back with WVCR 88.3, The Saint.